I'm going to preface all of this by saying the beginning was changed because I realized we're not really giving you any advanced strategies. I'm just bullshitting about these games with a few maybe interesting facts. So that explains our transition to commentary rather than schooling you in gaming. With that, I bring you the Immortal. This is a game that's like a torrid, abusive affair. Once the sex is over, there's just abuse and violence. Nothing really healthy or good. And the game is not shy about telling you that. Right here in the beginning, this right here tells you what the game is like. Yeah, you better move. And then you get eaten by a gigantic, angry, fanged cack. That sets the tone for the entire game. This is a game that fucks you mercilessly, without remorse, and really doesn't give you any joy when you finally beat it. It's just a sigh of relief, and then you wonder, why the fuck did I spend all that time trying to beat this game? It is, without doubt, a trial and error sort of game, where it's puzzles, not exactly plug and chug, and when you mess up, usually it results in a horrific death. Now, if you really, really want to see horrific death in this game, look for the Genesis version. The NES version is different. It's a little more fast-paced, action-oriented, it's easier to fight. The Genesis version is outright much, much more violent. I remember being a kid and seeing my brother play this game, and a friend of his said that it would be rad if, when you were fighting these creatures, these goblins, that when you hit them you'd see body parts go flying. Look for the Genesis version, and that's exactly what you get. Every time you kill an enemy, he dies very horrifically. I really can't explain well enough. But, you know, minus all that, in this, you have to watch out for floor traps and cannonballs coming out of the walls and a whole bunch of odd shit like that. And that dude you ran into earlier, Captain Faggot, he will periodically show up just to do something that will make you have to go through even more horrific stuff. He is the gateway to getting ass fucked. And these green bastards are not too bad. In fact, in the first level, there's not a whole lot of strategy to the fighting. You just swing away, and usually you'll win no matter how powerful the creature. That changes by about level 2. Make no mistake about that. While the game is a little bit easier combat-wise than the Genesis version, that doesn't mean that it's that much easier. It doesn't mean that it is outright easy. No. God, no. As an aside, I liked the art direction way back when, and I still like it now. Very dark. It's kind of got that angry fantasy vibe going. And, of course, it certainly has the violence to go with harder fantasy. And to be perfectly honest, I actually did really well playing this game this time around. Normally it took me days to beat this game, for the simple fact that I would get so pissed off at certain areas that I would shut it off before I broke something. Follow my path there exactly. If you walk around wrong in that room, you fall into a pit and die. Yes, this is not a game that... Yeah, right there, that shit. This is not a game that rewards exploration. If you so much as look in the wrong direction, either a pit will swallow you, or a gigantic worm will come out of the ground and swallow you. Now right there I actually managed to get out of a pit, and you do that by hammering the up button. This guy I should not have been able to beat. In the Genesis version, if you fight these guys, you're fucked. No questions asked. Because you can't see them attack, so you can't dodge. They just, well, molest you with whatever they have. God only knows. It's probably a good thing they're invisible. All this shit, this is not in the Genesis version either. This room is, but not all that shit that shoots at you. And here, this is important. Never, ever read that incantation. That is the spell of self-destructive orgasm. You will die every time you read it. It's right there, just like everything in this game that says, hey, you could look a little bit further. Don't do it. It will kill you. In a god-awful, horrible way. But I don't want to give away the ways in which you do get fucked. And actually, there are ways you can get fucked in the Genesis version that you can't in the NES version. Specifically, one entire level that involves gigantic spiders, my absolute worst nightmare. Why am I playing this version, you might be asking at this point? Because it's what I have. And also because, unlike the Genesis version, you can have a password. And overall, I like a friend of mine is going to kill me for this. I like the color schemes and such better in this. Graphically, it's obviously vastly inferior, but it's still very good for a NES version. And with that, you have finished level 1.